Oh, another Annie's Hook and Needle subscription kit. This is Annie's Crochet and Knit Club. I don't knit, so crochet it is. And they typically send us a pattern and the yarn to do the pattern with. Now, for these videos, I will unbox, reveal, and review. Sometimes I choose to make the kit using the yarn and the pattern that's been provided. And other times I decide that I would rather make a different project, but I'm always going to use the same yarn. So when that happens, I explain why. It's part of the reveal and the review and everything else that goes with an unboxing. So let me begin by saying my name is Sig, and this is Essential Crochet, and you, of course, are always welcomed here. It's your help and support that allows me to continue with these review videos, because I do pay for them with my own money. I do not have a sponsor. Nobody tells me how to answer these things. Nobody gives me money. At this time, there are no affiliations. Maybe some year down the road there might be, but for now, it's no affiliations. And even if there were affiliations, these things would still be my opinions, my perceptions. They would be all mine, nobody else's. So if I like it, I like it. If I don't, I don't. And I usually will tell you why. So if you enjoy these review channels, just continue to hit the like button. That helps me gauge if this is something that you all want to continue to see, because if that is the case, then I am happy to continue to do it. So with all that said, let's just go ahead and get started. For today's kit, our project was designed by Deborah Arch. She tells us that an ambitious beginner or an advanced beginner should be able to do this project. It's going to have a finished measurement of 33 inches in diameter. Now they tell us the kit comes with approximately 460 yards, medium worsted weight, so a 4-weight basically, of variegated yarn. They tell us that we need to provide, or we need to have, a size I or 9 or a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. Also, we need to have a tapestry needle. Now, the yarn they give us is a roving style yarn. For those of you who don't know, a roving style yarn is a yarn that really doesn't have much of a twist. I think you can see how minimal that twist is. It is, for lack of a better description, variegated. It has these pastel colors that seem to be grounded by a darker navy blue that plays off of them pretty well. The yarn is 50% acrylic and 50% polyester. They've given us 3 of these skeins, and each one of these skeins is 4 ounces, and each of the 4 ounces is going to have approximately 156 yards. So yeah, that gives us our approximately 460 yards they mentioned in the pamphlet, just over by a few yards. They don't give us any name for the yarn itself. It's just basically the Kit Club yarn. Now, this is washable in a gentle, cool machine. You can tumble dry this on low heat, but they're telling you not to bleach it and do not iron. And this is what they're giving us. They call it a ripple lapgan. It looks very lacy to me, so I'm not really sure why it was given the name ripple. But okay. Now, for those of you who don't know, Annie's Hooks and Needles Kit Club includes a pattern for the piece they're giving you for crochet and then also for knitted. So if you crochet or if you knit or if you do both, you're given options. I only crochet, so I'm going to be looking at the crochet option. If I were a knitter, I could certainly explore the knitted option. If I did both, I could decide which one I liked best and go that route. But now when I look at this knitted piece, now I can see that it has more of a ripple kind of a pattern to it, something that I would think in terms of more as a ripple pattern rather than this more lacy, almost spider webby kind of pattern to it. So let me go ahead and get this worked up, and we'll see if I work this up, if I decide to use the yarn on something else, or if I decide to alter this pattern any in order to suit my preferences more. It's a mystery. I still need to think about it a little bit. However, because this is a video and the magic of video will allow you an opportunity to see what I decide to do in mere minutes. You can tell with this particular project, I actually made the project. Now, what I didn't like about this project was the fact that the yarn is so busy that you cannot see, or at least I cannot easily see, the lacy pattern that is actually used to make this circular lapgan. It just kind of gets lost. And while I wouldn't consider the pattern a ripple, it is a really nice, simple kind of spider webby, kind of introductory to lace work kind of a pattern. And I think that's fantastic for a newbie, for a new crocheter who might be interested in getting involved in crochet lace work, but feels a little intimidated yet by the small needles and working with the thread. This is a great jumping off point for that. Now, what I did like about the yarn in terms of this piece, there again, if you are a beginner, there is so much color going on in this yarn, and it's so sparkly, or rather speckly, and it's almost chaotic to look at, that if you make a mistake or your lapgan isn't perfect, no one's ever going to notice, just not going to see it because there's so much else going on. Now, for me personally, I needed to add something more to this. And my reasons for that is because at 33 inches, this still, in my opinion, falls short of really a functional lapgan. It really, in my opinion, it really just does. It's just not, unless you're a very small person or you're a child, it just doesn't work for me. However, I did think that it had great potential as like a newborn baby blanket or a personal or security blanket that newborn can grow into, or maybe a small child who doesn't need something huge, but they just need something to hold on to and cuddle with. I think this is a perfect size for that. I also think this is like a perfect size for a doll blanket. You know a child, you have children who love their dolls and want to cozy them up too. This is a great project for that. This is a great fun little blanket project in terms of that. And that's how I see it. That's where I see it really having its strong points. Now, because for me personally, there is just too much of this crazy speckly looking stuff. For me, it just kind of, everything ran together in the piece because it was so overwhelming with the speckles. And I wanted it to be grounded. I wanted it to have a little more interest. So what I did was the last 2 rounds of the pattern, I didn't change the pattern. I just changed the colorway of the yarn that I used. So I had some of this Value Purple, which I thought was a great match for the actual colorway of the yarn they gave us to work with. And because I'm using this as a small infant blanket or child security blanket or doll blanket, I decided to embellish it a little bit, and I made some quick little flowers to just sew randomly onto the front of this piece. Now I feel like it has personality. So why didn't I just make a different project with this yarn? Because this yarn is not my favorite. It's soft yarn. I know people love it. But for me personally, this kind of roving yarn, you know, it's just not my favorite. It's not my personal favorite. And then the yarn itself, I wouldn't know what else to use it on, right? I don't have any specific idea what I would use with this colorway. So I decided that it was best used with the project that they provided, the pattern for that project that they provided. Only that I would embellish it a little bit and give it more of a specific personality. And that's one of the good things about these kits. I mean, there's lots of good things about these kits. For many people, if you are an experienced crocheter or an experienced knitter, these beginner kits are not frequently something that's going to get you excited or blow your hair back. I understand. I get it. I am oftentimes that person. So I have to mix things up a little bit. When I mix things up a little bit, I bring it to you. So, I guess take it for what it's worth. But now for the beginner, someone who's just learning this stuff, I can't knock these kits. I think these kits do a great service. I think they give you the opportunity to try out different yarns. I think they give you the opportunity to try out different stitches, different size hooks. So you really have a chance to really work with a bunch of different tools and yarns and designs, but they're typically very small scale. So if you're having trouble, if you're kind of messing it up, okay, not a big deal, right? You're not out a huge amount of money. They send these things to you typically once a month. So that gives you time to really sit down and play with it. And then as you grow, then maybe you move out of the kits and then maybe you move into something more specific, something more interesting. And that's just kind of how it goes. But for me, I try to take the kits, even if I'm not really excited about them, and I try to turn them into something more, or I try to use them on with something more. I give you my opinions on what I personally think about the yarn, but you have to really experience it for yourself, for you to decide what you think about the yarn. So now that I've just kind of shamelessly rambled on, I think this is a good time for me just to thank you for spending this time with me today. That I hope to see you in the next video. And just to remind you to stay safe, continue to maintain your creativity, and just keep being your own amazing self. Bye-bye now.